Hey everyone, welcome to The Word on the Street Is with Michael and Gabby, where we mention it all about your favorite Bravo celebrities and the shows they star in.
We have a wonderful guest who is here for the second time on our podcast. His name is James Paul Kirk. Hey, James, welcome back.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good, how are you? We're happy to have you back. It's been so long.
I know I'm excited to be back. It's been a while. Yeah, we were just saying it's been like 9 months or so. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah, and a lot has changed. James is like started at a new university, which is super cool.
Yes, it's very weird. It was like I was in online school, not enrolled anywhere last time I was here. Now I'm like living at school again, moved out of my parents' house. It's just a lot of changes in 9 months.
yeah. And when we had you last time, Salt Lake City had just premiered season 1, and now season 2 has just premiered. So we're super excited to chat about that.
Yeah, we wanted to have James back for the premiere of Salt Lake City. We couldn't have him back for just any episode. We needed to have him here for a very, very special episode. And Salt Lake City season 2 premiering is a very, very special occasion.
So, James, before we get into the episode from season 1, who ended up being your favorites?
So season 1, while watching the show, I really liked Heather, but then I turned on her after the reunion, and my favorite became Lisa. But I also really liked Mary, even though she's crazy. I like Mary. I think she's
Yeah.
fun. And then after the season premiere of this, though, I think I'm thinking I like Meredith, but last season I did not like Meredith. So a
Yeah.
lot is changing. A very not strong opinion so far.
I think Gabby and I are on the same page with Lisa. She took a while for me to like, but now she's my number one. And like you said, Mary's hilarious. My favorite last season was Jen. I still like her, but and I didn't like Meredith last season either. So
Yeah, Lisa Barlow has become my Salt Lake City queen. Like, I can't stop making TikToks about her lately. I think she is so funny.
she really is.
Well, since we're on the topic of Salt Lake City, should we just jump right into the premiere?
Yeah. So overall, I thought this was a really good premiere. I thought it kind of got into the drama, but there was also just a lot of really, really funny moments. And we had to remember this was also filmed during COVID, and I didn't even notice it was so good.
No, it
So
was
we,
good. It was very smooth. Like you really didn't notice it was COVID, and I liked how we got a lot of scenes like individually with the women too overall. Because I think it's good that we're saving the group scenes for more on, because I think some of the COVID seasons doing the group scenes in the first episode, like Jersey, then it just went downhill from that. So I feel like Salt Lake City's being better, not putting everything up front, which I liked.
yeah, we kind of gradually ease into it. And I like the individual scenes, especially for the first episode, just because we can like catch up with them and see what they've been up to. We learned that Mary started talking to herself, although I have a hard time believing she didn't talk to herself before, but that was a funny storyline.
Yeah. And then her and Robert Sr. just have not been together at all during the pandemic, which I found odd. Oh.
I don't think there's very much like romance going on in that relationship. So Mary's romance is getting another Chanel.
And speaking of women who love couture and expensive items, Jen Shaw revealed that the lease was up on the Shaw Chalet, which was pretty funny. I was actually wondering if she was going to admit to that.
Yeah, I'm happy that she just kind of admitted to it. I like the Shaw Chalet 2.0. I think that one's nice too. I mean, I really love her closet, honestly.
Gosh, yes, it's amazing. It's right up there with Tiffany's closet, Tiffany Moon's closet, Kenya Moore's closet. It's really good.
Just speaking of Jen, I just wanted a lot of people. Obviously, Jen's a horrible person. It seems like she did do all of these things. But I will say, and some people were annoyed with it because they were like, read the room. But I think her tagline is so funny. The first time I heard it, I like died laughing. She's just it's so opposite of like Erica, who's hiding everything. She's just like, I feel like Jen is just saying it all out there. Well, even though it's not correct information, she's at least being very forward.
Yeah, I think it's funny. And I mean, I can always appreciate somebody that's just open and honest and whatever. And she was also honest about her relationship, how Coach Shaw basically told her that he was leaving her. And then the next day, she got a call from a divorce attorney. I can't say I'm super surprised that that happened, but
I was just gonna say, didn't he not even like go to her dad's funeral when he died? I was like, this relationship doesn't seem very solid.
yeah, and it's like I understand, he's a coach and he has to be at the games and whatever, but that's like something really, really important that you don't miss. I mean, if it was like a graduation or I don't know, I'm like, okay, maybe not, but like a funeral of a parent.
I agree. I feel like that should have been a for sure day off granted from University of Utah, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a part of their marriage. Fraud and all that stuff aside, I can't imagine that Jen is an easy person to be married to with like the temper we've seen that she has. I think Sharif seems like a very patient man, but maybe he just ran out of patience.
Yeah, and then maybe that was a good wake up call. I hope that she is working on herself and her temper, and I don't know, time will tell for sure. I mean, things aren't getting easier for her because we see her getting arrested, and it's funny because on this episode she goes, "I haven't gone to jail yet."
Oh my god. The editors for this show, for these shows recently in general, are just so funny. I
They're
love that
so
they included that.
they're so shady. I love it.
So we have a new housewife on Salt Lake City, which is always exciting. And Jenny is her name. What are our thoughts on Miss Jenny?
So far, I like her. I thought her Vietnam story was really interesting. I really liked her daughter. I don't know if it was just me, but I thought she was funny and she was giving me like a little bit of Melania vibes. I liked when she said that that's why we're Asian, not Bijan. So I'm already standing her daughter more than her.
I liked her too, and I think one good thing, obviously it could be a lie, but it seems like in a lot of these new people in these shows recently, they kind of try to pretend that they were friends before. I think of like Leah and Ebony, who clearly didn't know each other before the season, but then said they did. It seems like Lisa actually knew Jenny for years. And I mean, who knows how close they were, but at least they actually knew each other for years before she was casted on the show. And I think when they cast that way, it usually turns out better. Like, Dorinda or like Elisa Rinna, who actually had ties to the group before joining the show. So I think she'll be a good addition from that standpoint.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to know her more. It's too soon for me to have an opinion on her yet, but so far I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah. And from the previews, she seems very opinionated. So I don't think there'll be any lack of drama with her. Another funny part of this episode was Whitney dropping the cake. I love that scene.
Oh my gosh, Whitney. She was such a hot mess during that whole cake jacuzzi episode.
I
It's
don't know why,
funny.
but Whitney just bothers me. The whole
Really?
scene, I didn't like it. I was like, I thought the first cake drop was genuine. But then when it kept going on, I was like, girl, like she should have taken the cake, brought it outside, but then she goes to pick up the plates again. I don't know. I loved Whitney at the beginning of last season, but I don't know. She's just not my favorite anymore. But everyone else likes her, so I think I'm in the minority here.
She's not like my number one, but I still I really like everybody, honestly. I don't really hate anybody. I think they all play a role. Should we get into some of the drama regarding Jen and Meredith and Lisa? Like, do you think, Lisa being friends with Jen is similar to Meredith being friends with like Heather and Whitney? You think it's different?
I personally would be so annoyed if I were Meredith to see Lisa like making such a big deal over Jen, saying like she's such a good person and everything after the things that Jen has said about Brooks. I personally would be really mad. And I think if the roles were reversed, if Jen had been saying really mean things about Lisa's sons, Jack and Henry, Lisa would be really, really angry about it, and justifiably so.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's why I think I'm standing Meredith a little bit more this season. She stated her opinion, how she felt. I agreed with Meredith. I thought it was kind of, even though I love Lisa, I thought it was kind of ridiculous that Lisa said what Jen is doing to Brooks is the same as what Whitney and Heather did to her last year. The one thing with Meredith, though, that I will say, we'll pull back on a bit. Meredith is trying to make it sound like twink is a homophobic slur.
I
And it is
know.
not.
Like, it's not a lie that he's a privileged twink. He is. It's not, it's just the truth.
Yeah. But also, twink isn't a bad word. Like, she made it sound like it was like something bad to say.
I know. And I was like, as someone, like, I was not offended by that at all. Like, it's a term that is used. Like, that's it. And honestly, maybe I just hate Brooks, but like, he got himself involved in the drama. At the end of the day, I'm sure he's loving the airtime. He didn't even go to college so that he could be on the show. So like, I think he's loving this. So I'm like, I think Jen shouldn't have gone so hard at like her friend's kid, but like at the same time, this is what Brooks wanted. So
Yeah, he is there to promote his clothing line. He definitely is winning from being on this show.
Yeah, I think it's very clear that he is privileged. And like, maybe the way Jen said it wasn't so nice, but I mean, if someone's saying like a fact, I don't think it's, you know what I mean? It's not like she's making this up out of thin air, you know?
yeah. And it's not like the thing she liked called him a slur. Like, I don't know. I'm more team Jen, which I guess is unpopular, but but I'm super excited for this season. Already off to a really good start.
It is. I'm so excited for this season and how it's going to play out.
Yes, I'm loving all the legal issues on Housewives recently. So
it's everywhere.
Jen Shaw getting arrested is going to be great. Not for her, but for us.
And the fact that it's happening on camera. This is a first for us. We've never actually seen an arrest or anything like that, the lead up to a housewife going to jail or something like that, caught on camera. So
yeah,
pretty big.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this last week. Like, even with Teresa, it was like a slow thing. Like, things were coming out season by season, and then like she could plan when she went to jail. It wasn't like a sudden arrest, you know?
So I was like telling somebody about this the other day, and I almost sounded like a bad person because I'm like, we actually are seeing the arrest on camera. It sounds like I'm so excited to watch someone's life falling apart. And it was so bad saying it outside of this podcast.
You know, you're a true Bravo fan when you say things like that, though. Starting into Potomac, this episode started with the continuation of Candace and Ashley's fight, which was pretty laughable, especially Candace's apology. Like, she literally is like, she's like, I called you wide-bodied, but it had nothing to do with your body. And I'm like, wait, what?
Like, dug her own grave with, I body shame you all the time. I talk about your forehead all the time. I'm like, please just stop talking.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I thought it was so funny that Candace justifies body shaming Ashley by saying, well, I body shame you all the time, so it's fine.
I know it's unpopular, but I really love Candace.
Oh, I love Candace too. Last season I was kind of up and down with her, but this season I'm loving her. I think she's actually my favorite this season.
She's mine too.
It wouldn't go that far for me. As much as I do enjoy Candace, her behavior when she acts like this reminds me why I wasn't a fan of her to begin with.
Yes,
True.
I agree. I still kind of stand for this season, but is Candace a good person? Probably not. Actually, I would argue definitely not.
I will say we've seen a lot of growth with her, though.
Yeah. It's like she does, but then she backpedals with the like, I body shame you all the time. You can't grow that much. You really haven't grown that much if you're saying stuff like that.
True.
Also, she's very into, I feel like in Housewives, a lot of time they say people are mom shaming when they're not. Like last season of Beverly Hills, when like Kyle said Denise was mom shaming her, that was false. But Candace does continuously mom shame Ashley. She's like, shouldn't you be pumping your milk? Like, she says all these things like it's so horrible that Ashley has children. And I don't understand, like, why is it an insult to be a mother? It doesn't make sense.
James, you're right. And like when she also said, oh, Ashley just started problems, then she took her breast milk and left. Like she always has to like throw in there something about Ashley being a mom. She doesn't do that with Giselle. She doesn't do that with Robin. She doesn't do it with Karen. So she just has like a whole host of issues with Ashley. And I think her being a mother is just another thing for Candace to go after.
And that whole mom shaming thing was an issue last season with Ashley and Wendy too. I hate the whole mom shaming thing. It's so annoying.
Yeah, well, last season, I don't think it really was mom shaming. I say 90% of the time they say mom shaming on Housewives. It's not, but this time it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Same when like a housewife likes to use the word bullying as like their buzzword of the day. And it's not bullying when someone calls you out on your bullshit and you don't like hearing it.
Exactly. So I thought the Wendy's conversation with her kids made me so sad. But her kids were so cute. I don't know. I really liked, I didn't like that she had to have that conversation, but I really, really liked that scene.
Same. I really love Wendy's family. I think her daughter, like I could just pause the screen every time they show Cameron because I just think she is cute as a button. And her sons, oh my gosh, my heart. They're so sweet.
Yeah, I agree. I love Wendy's family. I love Eddie. I love her children. This scene was very sad though. Obviously like the kid was very cute and his response was very cute, but it's sad that like they had to have that conversation. And it's funny because I don't know about you guys, but I have not really loved Wendy this season in terms of like her ridiculous candle line and her dynamics in the group, but I still love her at home and her family scenes.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm not really loving her in the drama, but I still like her as a housewife and I still want to see more of her.
She did give us TikTok Mia. But I agree, in the drama, she's been kind of pissing me off, but with her kids and her husband, she definitely is like in her element. That's no conversation any parent should have to have with their child, but unfortunately for Black families, especially families of Black sons, they have to have the police officer conversation of, even though you didn't do a thing wrong, you could get pulled over and your life could be in jeopardy. Like I can't even fathom having that conversation, but it's so important that they did have it with their sons and that it was shown on camera. We've never seen a housewife have a conversation like that before with a child. So it's really important.
Yeah, I agree. James, how are you feeling about Mia so far?
So funny thing about Mia is I was initially, before I moved to college, I was watching Potomac. A lot of my family watches Potomac, so we were all watching it together. And my cousin and my sister hate Mia. So I kind of got poisoned against her. But I will say, I appreciate some of Mia's storyline, how, the reconnecting with her mother. By the way, her apartment, I love. It's beautiful. That area of Baltimore, I lived in DC for a year and I'd go to Baltimore all the time. Such a beautiful area where she lives. I love her lifestyle aspect. I think in the drama, she has been a little bit sometimes trying to make things happen where there wasn't anything. But I'm still kind of neutral on her. I don't love her. I don't hate her. I'm trying to get away from my sister and my cousin hate her. I'm trying to get that out of my head and make my own opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I like her so far. I'm not like obsessed with her, but I think she was a really good addition.
Yeah, that's how I feel too, Michael. And I feel like I could get to the point where she gets pretty high up on my list of favorites.
Well, the other thing that happened this episode, I don't even remember. What was the theme of this party? Like
the goddess party. I was kind of thinking of Kathy Wakili having a goddess party for some reason. I was like, the theme is ringing a bell and it's a Jersey bell. And remember when Kathy had that party and it was just a funny comparison for me.
Yeah, I thought it was a little like someone said, a little summer campy, that they like went around and said something they liked about everyone. I'm like a little immature for me, but okay.
Yeah, I want to hear, this is what I like about you, and then also here's something you could improve on. That would have been
Yeah. It was just so funny seeing Candace and Ashley try to come up with something that they liked about each other because it was so like random and surface level.
They've done such a 180 from when Candace joined the show. Like Ashley was her connection to the show. She's the one who introduced Candace to the group because they both did pageants together. It's a bummer that their friendship has gone down the way it has, as entertaining as their feud has been. I forget at times that Ashley's the one who pretty much brought Candace on.
Yeah, I really like their feud. I always say it's like a mini Giselle and Karen type feud.
It is. And it gives me a little bit of Kenya Portia energy as well.
Yeah, I love their feud. I've heard a lot of people compare it to Kenya and Portia. Now I'm kind of noticing it. I really like their feud. And their feud, for some reason, I'm almost enjoying more this season than Giselle and Karen. I'm loving the Giselle and Karen feud, but I don't know. I think Ashley and Candace, like the way they read each other, I think is more funny. So I like the two of their dynamic.
Yeah. I think Giselle and Karen gets a little repetitive, whereas Ashley and Candace feels more fresh right now.
Speaking of Kenya and feuds, I also just wanted to throw in that Kenya and Sheree was actually one of my favorite feuds. Or should I say Kenya versus Chateau Sheree?
Well, we may be seeing that feud again next season because it looks like Sheree is returning.
Oh, I hope. I really hope.
In the same rumor, it said that Portia is not returning. We can't lose her, especially now that she's engaged to Simon, allegedly pregnant. She's off special and a book. I need to know what's going on with Portia. Don't take her away from me.
Agreed. Please cut Candy's check because we don't need her, and give Portia a raise.
I love Candy, but I think Cynthia needs to go.
Yeah.
And Drew, I think, even though she was new, so she probably wasn't making that much, I don't think Drew needs a second season either.
No, she doesn't. And I don't think Cynthia's coming back. So why can't they give Portia some of Cynthia's money? Because that's like $2 million.
Oh my God. Cynthia gets $2 million.
Yeah, to do nothing.
She hasn't done anything since she divorced Peter. So it's just at least 4 seasons.
Well, yeah, and especially when Nini's not there, like Nini is usually her storyline. So we got on a tangent with Atlanta. But are we good on Potomac? Do we want to get into Beverly Hills?
Yes, best for last. So this episode was so good. It was a continuation of the epic showdown between Sutton and Erica. Oh my gosh, when Erica said, "It's not a threat, it's a promise," like chills down my spine. That was like such an iconic villain quote.
I'm loving Sutton's feuds with everyone this season, with Crystal, with Erica, and Sutton has really been delivering. I'm very upset. Did you see the reunion? She's literally the farthest from Andy. So I'm like, who is making these decisions? Because I understand that like Erica is probably the most needed for this season, but I would say Sutton is a close number 2.
Yeah, it's so strange to me that Sutton's like on the end of the couch.
And it was crazy that Sutton potentially like was supposed to be a friend of, because she did really bring it this season, I will say.
She has brought it. She has earned her paycheck and her diamond. But what team are we all on, James? Team Sutton, Team Erica? Tell us.
This season of Beverly Hills, I will say, I'm lean towards like Team Sutton and Garcelle, who are questioning everything. But I'm not as crazy as some of the Twitter fans like hating on Erica. I think some people are jumping to conclusions a little fast. Erica's clearly made mistakes. I wish she said more towards the victims. Clearly, it seems like she is maybe hiding some stuff with like these ridiculous stories she keeps telling. I lean more towards Team Sutton, but I'm not one of those fans. I'm not saying, oh, Erica's guilty of everything. She's definitely guilty of ignorance in the situation, but I'm not sure. I don't think Erica is as malicious as some of the fans are trying to make her out to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. I've always been someone that loved Erica. I'm a little bit more skeptical this season, but some of the stuff I see online, I think people are really just jumping on this like hate train. They haven't liked Erica for a while, so they just want to continue to hate on her. I think like with Jen Shah, like obviously she was the one like actually committing the crimes. Yeah, I don't see like half as much about like, well, Jen needs to pay her victims, or like I don't see anything on that. Yet everything that happened with Erica, was mostly done by Tom. I mean, it was done by Tom. We don't know what she knew. Yet everything is like basically saying Erica's the one that like stole all the money. And I'm like, well, her husband did. We don't know what she knew, and maybe we won't know. And yeah, there's some inconsistencies, but I felt like I wanted Sutton to be a little bit more straightforward at that dinner. And like I didn't really understand why she was being so fake with Erica at the beginning. But overall it made for a really entertaining dinner. So
It really did. And what the hell is up with Kathy's home decor? Was that like a claw machine filled with light bulbs behind them? Like, I was so confused. What is with like friends of in Beverly Hills in New York City having these homes with the most bizarre home decor?
Kathy's funny, and you can tell she's a very like rich lady with not that many responsibilities. Because for the last like 2 episodes, she's like, I need 3 days to prepare for my dinner party, so it's perfect. I'm like, normal people, like maybe you think about it a little bit in your head, but you don't need 3 days off of work to have what is it, 8 women over to her home. So I kind of love it. Like, I think it's the most wealth we've ever seen, probably ever on any of these shows. So I think it's interesting to see, and it's kind of funny.
yeah, I think Kathy's like a really great friend of. I mean, I think a lot of her personality is a persona. I don't really buy everything, most of what she says, but I think she's like good comedic relief, and it's like nice seeing her lifestyle. So I think she's great as in the friend of role.
And also, do you really need 3 days off to prepare a party when you have an entire staff? Like,
Right.
all the cooking, they serve everybody, they do everything. So I can't imagine Kathy needs to do more than tell them what she wants done and they execute it flawlessly.
Yeah, seriously, I don't even know what she's doing. And now that you say that,
And Crystal said she hosts like 2 events a week or whatever.
Yeah, 2 to 3 events a week, Crystal hosts. So I was like, damn, girl, Crystal doesn't have time to spend 3 days planning those parties.
Exactly.
Do we believe that Rinna was really super drunk? Because like when her and Garcelle were talking the next day, she's like, oh, I don't remember. I don't remember. And I was like,
As a Rena stan, I was like, really?
Yeah.
Especially because it was like, I get if she didn't like hear a couple things or miss stuff, but the way they were talking, it was like Garcelle was like explaining what happened and Rena wasn't even there. And I'm like, okay, she definitely like, I could see if she was drunk, but like, there's no way she missed like everything. So
yeah, I thought it was weird. I'm actually more of a Garcelle stan, but I think the reason that Rinna may have done that with Garcelle is because it seemed like Garcelle was trying to like create an issue with Rinna. And I will say, as a Garcelle stan, I love her, but I think sometimes she is at this point trying to create issues with Rinna when sometimes one doesn't exist. So I think
yeah,
Rinna was like, I'm not giving you the camera time, I'm not giving you the airtime. I'm gonna pretend I'm drunk and I didn't know what was going on. So your feud, is invalid. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. And I'm not saying like Garcelle's feelings are invalid. If that's how she feels with the group, I get it. But like, I don't really feel like they exclude her or like, and especially her saying like her, Sutton, and Crystal are like on the outs. I don't really see because like Crystal has different friends than them, than like Garcelle and Sutton. I don't feel like they really exclude people.
Yeah, I kind of actually see that a little bit more, like how the Dorit, Erica, Rena, and Kyle are closer. The one thing with Garcelle that I really don't understand is how she says Rena should be defending her in all these situations. But then Rena in her confessional is like, well, I don't agree, so why would I defend you? So that I think is funny. But the exclusion, yeah, I think it is a little overblown. The one thing that I love what Garcelle is doing is she's being very direct with Dorit because I find Dorit insufferable. I love Dorit for the show, but I find her insufferable. So I love Garcelle being like, Dorit, you need to shut up. You're annoying. Stop talking. I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And it was funny how she was kind of picking at Dorit at the Haitian dinner. See, for me, like I just started liking Dorit last season. And once I like somebody, it's really hard for me not to like them. So like I'm kind of seeing like similarities in Dorit now from like season 7, but because she's grown on me, she doesn't bug me like that anymore. So I don't know. I mean, I like Garcelle a lot too. I mean, I like them both. I just am kind of living for their feud.
Yes, I think their feud is so great, and I'm loving Dorit as the villain again. I think Twitter or
Mhm.
Instagram was too mean to her after season 7, so she became all nice, and now the villain came back out, kind of like Camille, like how
Yeah.
she kind of stayed reserved, and then what was it, season 9, and she just season 1 Camille came back. I
Yeah.
think that's what it's like with Dorit.
Yeah, and Rena's done that too. Like after season 7, I think she tried to have a low key season. Villain Rena always comes back. And I'm not a huge Kyle stan, but like she is really friends with everybody. And I think she does make an effort with everybody. And I think that's important because I think she tries to keep the group together. And I think that's important for the dynamic. So
I agree. I don't like Kyle, but I think she's very necessary for the show. So many of the women I don't think would have any connection to each other if it wasn't for Kyle.
yeah. So for that, I think it's necessary. I mean, I like her, but yeah, she's not like a favorite. Speaking of Kyle, so her and Sutton went to that like private viewing of those auction items and they kind of got into a little fight then. What was your guys' take on that?
I found it very entertaining. I loved how they kept showing the people who work there, like laughing at them. They're like, oh my God, these women are so rich. And they're just here with their Birkins fighting.
Yeah,
I like the
I
competitive shopping in general in all of these shows. And I think Kyle, you can tell, is so competitive when it comes to material items with the other women on the show, like how she's fawning over Crystal's bag, all this stuff. So I love seeing Kyle in shopping mode. And, Sutton clearly is very good at shopping too. So I thought it was funny. It was definitely like one of those like cultural elements of the show that I like.
yeah, that's something you only really see on Beverly Hills, so I thought it was funny. But yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of saw both of their sides. I think to an extent, like, yeah, the ladies are kind of having Sutton do their dirty work, and she is asking the questions that they're kind of afraid to ask. But at the same time, I think Sutton like has said a lot more behind Erica's back and has said, I'm going to tell Erica this and that, and then she doesn't follow through. So I really do see both sides.
Yeah, I think I see both sides, but also I will say one way that I kind of agree more with Sutton is yes, Sutton isn't being so direct as to what her feelings are outside of the group, like when they do those other scenes on camera. But but Kyle, Rinna a little bit, Garcelle, Dorit, they're all being very like open about their feelings in the confessional. And then in the scenes, they're not really showing that. So I think all of them, especially Kyle, to be calling out Sutton for not being honest when Kyle is kind of saying the same things. I don't know. I think it's a little bit hypocritical.
Mhm.
And as we know, Erica's supposed to be going after Kyle at the reunion, so I'm really excited to see how that goes down.
I mean, can we blame Erica though? And I'm no Erica fan at the moment, but like Kyle sat with her that day where she had like black mascara tears running down her face. And Kyle's like, I'm not that type of friend. I'm here for you. And then like she's talking a lot of shit behind Erica's back at the same time, not only to the other women, but also like in her confessionals. So yeah, I don't blame Erica for being surprised when she saw Kyle saying those things and also for being pissed.
And I actually think
Mhm.
Garcelle's been a little bit more upfront with Erica than the other women too. So maybe Garcelle's been fine too. But Dorit, Kyle, especially Dorit and Kyle, have been so nice to her face and behind her back, and they're always like talking.
Yeah, they have been super two-faced.
Yeah, I think Garcelle hasn't been like I think she's been pretty direct with Erica, but like yeah, not really two-faced, I would say. I think everything Garcelle's like said hasn't like been with like bad intentions. So, but it's been a really, really good season since probably the best season I would say since 7 or 5. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, this is definitely a top tier season, and I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're already nearing the finale and the reunion, which is crazy, but I'm excited for all of it.
And we are in for a treat with the finale and hopefully a 3-part reunion.
For sure, 3 parts.
Or maybe they'll go Atlanta status and give us a 4-part reunion.
Yeah.
Or
You never
Potomac, where
know.
they do the 3-part, but then the last part's like 2 hours long.
Yeah, it's like 3.5, I would call it.
That was amazing watching that. I was like, wait, why is this episode so long? Does this mean what I think it means?
And I loved how the first couple episodes of Potomac this season were like 50-minute episodes.
Yes, give us all the content.
Well, James, I don't think we want to take any more of your time. We've gotten through all 3 episodes, but thank you for joining us and chatting all things Bravo. Do you want to plug your TikTok or your Instagram or your podcast or all 3? I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for having me. The podcast right now is on hiatus. I just don't have time for it when I'm like in college. But TikTok, which is also like kind of on hiatus, but I occasionally post on there, is at James Kirk 01. Instagram is at James Paul Kirk.
Awesome.
Perfect.